everyone. Welcome to today's session, which is creating and managing tasks. In the last couple sessions, we talked about action plans, how to create tasks with the action plans. So if you've been working with that, you will have been building up more and more tasks. So hopefully in this class, we'll teach you how to manage those tasks and use them more effectively. One thing I find with a lot of people is they wind up with too many tasks and then they wind up just ignoring them. So you really have to be committed to managing those tasks so that they do not become overwhelming and they can really serve you well and help you get things done. Okay, so I'm going to start with how to create a task. So when we did the action plans, that actually created many tasks at one time. So I'm going to go over just a one-off task, how to create it, how to assign it to somebody else, how to link it to your client so that you will see it in your client-related activity list, and then how to look at them on the calendar, and then how to look at them in a list view. Okay, so we'll be going over all those different parts. There are a couple ways to create a task, and one way is from the calendar itself. So I'm going to go over here to the left and click on calendar. And right now I'm on my monthly calendar, so I'm going to go to my daily calendar. And next week we're going to learn about how to manage your calendar, how to view other people's calendars, see when they're busy, and things like that. Okay, well, Sue, it would probably be helpful if I turned my screen on, which I always forget to do. Oh, I don't want to do that. Oh, okay, so Sue, you turned on and Elena, you turned on your video, so we can see you in the classroom. We can see you. Hi. So you might want to turn your video off. Okay, so today we're going to talk about working with tasks, how to create tasks, and how to manage tasks. I'm going to go over here to the calendar, and on the calendar screen is one place where you can add a task. On the left-hand side, when I'm in my daily view, I see my events, and then on the right, I see my tasks for today. Okay, and when you're looking at your tasks, you have these views over here. So I can look at today and overdue tasks, or I can just look at tasks for today. Overdue tasks are always listed in red. And the way a task becomes overdue is just passing the due date. So when you create a task, I'm going to show you how to set the due date. And as soon as that due date passes, it's going to become overdue. And that's the one thing you don't want to wind up with like this here. And we have all of these overdue tasks, okay? And it just becomes too overwhelming. So you want to learn how to manage those so that you do not have all those overdue. So we have today and overdue, tomorrow, and so on. So these are just built in, and it will remember the last view that you left it on. So if I leave it on today, then it will always show today. You also can view your tasks on your home page. Your home page is generally the page that you see when you come in the morning, and that will show you your tasks. And again, you have your views over here that you can switch around. It also shows you your calendar here, and this is where you can access your calendar as well. Next week, we're going to learn how to manage your calendar. We'll teach you how to change to someone else's calendar, how to view multiple calendars at one time, and how to make appointments and invite people and things like that. That'll be next Thursday. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my calendar. This is one way to create a task. So from your calendar, you just click New. And this is a new task screen. Assign to is who the task is for. It's automatically going to default to you. You can assign it to other people. Once you assign it to someone else, then it is owned by them, not by you. Okay. Now we have different types of users on the call. So if you have a full Salesforce license, then you can see tasks that you've delegated to other people. If you are a community user, once you assign it to somebody else, you cannot see it anymore. Okay. Community users are very much secluded from other people's data. You basically can only see data that you own. So even though you create the task, if you assign it to somebody else, you are not the owner. That person becomes the owner. Okay. So by default, it's going to assign it to you. And then if you go into your lookup, you can then search another person. And so I'm going to leave this assigned to me. And then we have our subject, and that's what you're going to see on your task list. This is a lookup. It's a little bit of a different lookup. You can have certain subjects put in here. Your administrator would need to put them in there. And it's just so that you don't have to type the information. So if they're common subjects that you use over and over again, they can be put into that drop down. And that has to be done by your administrator. Here we have our due date, and again, all date fields work by if you click on the date to the right, it'll put that date in there. But if you click in the field, then it gives you a calendar. So the due date is when you want it to be due. It's going to show on your task list right away. Okay, so a lot of people think it's not going to show on my task list until the 19th. Well, it depends on what view that you're looking at. So if you say all tasks, you'll see it. If you say today, then of course you won't see it until the 19th. Okay, so it's on the task list, but depending on what type of view that you're looking at as to whether or not you will see it. So the due date really controls when it's going to become overdue. All right, so once I get to the 20th, then it's going to be marked as overdue. Okay. The comments can be whatever you want them to be. If you're assigning this to somebody else, then the comments can become very helpful to tell that person what you might need them to do. Over here on the right, we have related to, and then we have name. Now, in the Sycamore system, all of your clients are accounts. They're what are called person accounts. So you will go to related to, and you'll go to the drop down and you'll pick account. And then you will link it to your client. Now you don't have to link a task to a client, but if it is client related, then you should link it to a client. If it is something that you're maybe meeting with another professional or something like that, then you could link it to their contact record if they have a contact record, or it depends on how your firm is set up. You may have all of your professionals as accounts as well. So you could link it to a particular professional that would be in your account list as well. It doesn't have to be a client. But by linking it to a client, when we go, which I will show you, when we go to the client account, we'll see all those tasks. Okay, so it is important to link it to the client if it is client related. Okay, you can leave that field blank. It is not required. But then, it's just a task that's kind of floating out there with no home. Here we have a status. And again, these pick list choices can be adjusted by your administrator. These are pretty good. Most people don't need to change these, so we can set it to whatever status we need it to be, and then a priority. This down here is a new feature in Spring 14. You may not see these fields. If you don't, you may want to ask your administrator. This is a really nice feature. It's for recurring tasks. So, let's say every Monday or the first Monday of every month, you have to run certain reports. Okay. So you could, we could go down here to create recurring, and then we could say monthly, and then we could say, the first Monday of every month. All right. And this is what we call a recurring task. Whenever you do a recurring task, you have to set an end date. And they have maximum end dates that you can set. They do not let you just set it forever, okay, which a lot of people complain about, but it just, creates a lot of records. So it's their way of controlling how many records. So depending whether it's daily, weekly, monthly, or yearly, controls how many they'll let you or how long they'll let you go out. If you just click calculate max end date, it'll calculate how many. So for example, if I go to weekly, and I go to calculate, it'll go out further, or I'm sorry, less, because there's more weeks in a year, okay? So depending on what you select. So I always just say, max. Or if, of course, it is only for 6 months, then you put in that 6-month time frame. Okay. Reminders, these is new too. They give you different reminders, and you can put it on the day before, 2 days before. Your tasks are totally controlled by this here. Okay, so now this was created and linked to this client. So I can go right to this client by clicking here, or of course I can go to accounts and pull up that client. So I'm going to go over to that client here. And by linking it to that client, I now should see it under Open Activities. And there it is. Okay. Now, with a task, if a task becomes overdue, it is not removed from the Open Activity list. Okay. Now, an event, as soon as an event, which is an appointment, passes, then it goes to the activity history. But a task does not go to the activity history until you complete it. Once you complete it, then it goes to the activity history. Same thing with reports. Okay, so if I run a report and I have overdue tasks, they're going to show up as overdue. Okay, but they're not going to be completed or, closed or anything like that. They're just, it's like its own little stage of overdue. So now if I go to this task list and I click on CLS, which stands for close, it's going to open up that task and it's automatically going to be completed. And then I'm just going to click save. And that's how you complete a task. If you complete your task from your calendar, then they have this X here, and that's the same as the CLS. Why they change it, I don't know. And that automatically gets set as completed. But if I go to my calendar and I go into the task, excuse me, then I have to edit it and then mark it completed. So several different ways of marking it completed, from the activity list, with the X on the calendar itself, or opening up the task and marking it as completed yourself. Of course, you have all of those same options available on your home page. Here's my tasks, and I can just mark them done. So at the end of the day, if you can get yourself in the habit of going to your home page and just kind of marking all your tasks done, that's great. If you want to move it forward, then of course you can go into the subject and change the date and move it forward and manage them that way. Now, you also can create a task from the client account.